Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Jackie Van Ham, your girl in the know for all things motorcycle. Welcome back everybody. Welcome to your midweek motorcycling event roundup, like I like to do, even though there's not a whole bunch of rounding up to be had. There still is some cool stuff going on in motorcycle life, so I figured I'd go ahead, open up the camera like I always do in the middle of the week, peek in, say hi. It's been a hot minute. Have I just had the craziest past couple of weeks? I hope that you are well. I hope that you are staying busy and safe and hopefully working and enjoying this beautiful weather that we are having here right now here in fall. It is not quite cold and totally poopy yet. Here in Kentucky, it is absolutely spectacular out, which is perfect considering I have to move a whole bunch of stuff and all sorts of awful chores and things I have over the next couple of days. But don't feel bad for me because I jump on a plane on Friday and head out to beautiful Arizona, which is where I'll be this weekend. I'll have more details about that event coming up on today's show. As always, I can see your comments, so feel free to peek in and say, hey, what's going on out there, Choppertown fans? It's been a hot minute since I've seen you. Hopefully it all sounds and looks okay. I've yet again been messing around with my settings here on the computer, but I think that we're all okay and good to go and rock and roll, and I can see your comments. Tommy from Tennessee is in the house. Thank you for tuning in. So for today's show, I had a little bit of news and things that kind of caught my eye floating around out on the internet. I also wanted to talk about a couple of interesting things that are going on in motorcycling. If you're not part of the motorcycling industry, perhaps this has not been in your wheelhouse, but my industry friends, we are all abuzz out here because, man, have motorcycles, ATV, UTV, trailer, RV, snow machine, water machine, boats, like everything is through the roof sales-wise right now, and has been since really the beginning-ish of this whole pandemic, because people are looking for ways to have recreation that is outside. And that's literally the whole point of motorcycles, right? Like, it couldn't have been any more perfect timing to pull motorcycling out of the several year slump that the sales have been in and help turn things around. And indeed, several major, huge, big, massive companies have reported really interesting statistics, including our friends over at Harley-Davidson. Harley-Davidson is claiming its best third quarter since 2015, despite lower sales. I thought that was really interesting. Polaris is reporting very, very similar type statistics. Polaris, which is the owner of Indian Motorcycles and a million other fun outdoor craft. Polaris is reporting 40% more motorcycle sales in the third quarter, so they are echoing what Harley-Davidson had to say. And our friends over at Ducati are reporting the best third quarter ever, despite the global pandemic. So what the hell does this mean to you and I? Well, it means there's a hell of a lot more new faces out here on motorcycles. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what are considered some of the best motorcycles for beginners and why they are that way and why I disagree with some of the bikes on this list. We're going to talk about that a little bit, as well as I just wanted to take a moment and kind of discuss on the show, just briefly. I'm not going to get too deep in it, but with all of these high motorcycle sales and all these new motorcyclists, what does this mean for the business of motorcycling? So there's a couple different things going on. All of these sales went through the roof. Awesome. Now, was this just a cash grab for manufacturers and for dealerships, or are they actually going to put something behind all those incredible new sales and all of those fascinating and interesting new motorcyclists that have joined our motorcycling family out here? Are they actually going to embrace them and bring them into the fold with really neat plans of like supporting them as members of their family, as members of this motorcycling community, possibly hosting more smaller regional type events to celebrate that ownership? You know, think Hog Rally, think, Honda, the wing dinger people, think, so once a year, all of these major manufacturers have some sort of like event that celebrates their ownership. But now with motorcycling events kind of being scrubbed off because of the COVID, now there needs to be a different way of celebrating ownership and be outside and have it be safe and this and that and this and that. So instead of huge rallies where, thousands and thousands and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people congregate and spit talk all over each other and keep spreading this pandemic around, in my mind, kind of an interesting thought process is instead picking different regions once every quarter and having like a very, like whoever has the highest sales for that manufacturer, having that dealership be invited to host a neat event where the manufacturers bring, some neat things, whether it's music, whether it's stunt riders, whether it's a race, like a little mini parking lot race, or more, or a dirt track race or something like that, and hosting little fun weekends celebrating the owners that they've always had, but also these new owners, and bringing them into the fold into a very, very fun way, and making sure that they feel celebrated and part of this motorcycling family as well. Now, that might sound maybe a little like kumbaya or super duper touchy-feely to some of you old-timer bikers, but this is the real. This is how motorcycling has screwed up several times in several different generations, over and over and over again. They go for the cash grab, and they're not building a member of the family, as it were. They're not entrenching them in the brand. They're not necessarily celebrating them and making sure that they stay within the brand with their next motorcycle. I feel like that motorcycling as an industry has really made a misstep in this way. They lost a bunch of consumers starting in like the 70s and 80s because there was a switch for more high horsepower, and they left behind smaller displacement bikes. They left behind smaller CC dirt bikes. Up until then, dirt biking, particularly in the 1970s, hit this really interesting boom, and it was parents and kids riding bikes together, and it became a family activity. And then, you graduate to bigger bikes as the kids get older. There's that whole vibe going on. I mean, hell, Honda started that thing with You Meet the Nicest People with the Honda Cub, with the Cub. I can't believe it took me a second to think about that. With the Honda Cub, of course, one of the most iconic motorcycling campaigns ever, period, hands down, was the You Meet the Nicest People campaign in the late 60s. And it showed people, older people, grandma, mom, kids, college students. It showed everybody on these bikes using these bikes. And then it grew them as a consumer. Sometimes they were happy to stay with the Cub, and the Cub is super bitchin'. I'm not talking smack because I love that bike. But sometimes they wanted to buy more. They wanted to buy different dirt bikes. They wanted to go into the CB750s. They wanted to buy, deeper into the brand. But then more sport biking upticked in the 1980s, and then now it became the race for high horsepower. Well, that left kids, grandmas, a decent amount of women. I'm not being sexist, but a decent amount of women were left behind as consumers. So again, I just keep seeing this misstep where like they make the cash grab, they get the buy, and then it's like, thanks for the dollars, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. So instead of thinking that way, maybe now is the time to think about changing the way that we look at events, changing the way we look at the dealership, manufacturer, and customer relationship. Just kind of some thoughts to start off today's show. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. Again, to the kickoff for today's show was talking about this crazy uptick in sales. Harley-Davidson, Polaris, which is Indian Motorcycle, and Ducati have all released numbers, and they've been absolutely staggering, huge global sales, which is super, super awesome, which is very, very exciting for us out here in the motorcycling industry. But now what the hell are we going to do with it? What are we doing with all these new bikers? Where are they going? What are they doing? Who's training them? Where are they riding? So anyway, that's the beginning of today's show. But not more importantly, but that leads me to a different conversation with today's show. And that is the conversation about these new bikes and new motorcycle riders. This first new bike that's going to be showing up on your screen, the folks over at, who put this up here? I think this was the folks over at motorcycle.com. We're talking a little bit about this bike. It's just an e-bike. It's an American-made e-bike conglomeration between Volcom. I can't see it on the screen because I'm blind as a bat and I got rid of the slot, or got rid of the page. But anyway, I thought that was super fucking kick-ass. Oh, excuse my language. Look at those huge treads on there. It's an electric machine. It's perfect for shredding around your campsite or mucking around in the dirt. I thought that was beautiful. So I just wanted to go ahead and show that very first on today's slide. But what we're really going to talk about is the opinion of the very best motorcycles for beginners. This is from the folks over at Ride Apart. So you've decided you want to join the ranks of motorcyclists worldwide. First of all, congratulations and welcome to the family. It isn't something that's for everyone, but then again, few things are. Once you get past the beginner jitters that hit most of us early in our riding careers, you're in for years of the very special joy that only riding a motorized something with two wheels can provide. What bike should you get? Ultimately, the decision is entirely up to you, as well as what you want out of riding. Maybe you mostly plan to commute and or run errands on your bike, or maybe you want something that can tear up all the really good roads in your area on the weekends with your riding buddies. Maybe you want to go explore cool trails in your area. That's cool. There's so very many bikes to choose from after all. The only two rules beginners need to keep in mind when shopping for their first bike. One, you will drop your bike. It happens to everyone, and I guarantee that it's happened at least once to everyone you know who rides, whether they're willing to admit to it or not. That's why you should try to get a bike that isn't going to make you sob uncontrollably when you eventually have that first tip over. You'll get better at not dropping your bike as you gain experience, but minor scuffs and scrapes are part of the learning process, no matter who you are. 2, your first bike doesn't have to be your only bike. While picking a first bike is a big decision, it's not on par with, say, deciding on the person that you want to marry. Maybe you'll pick a first bike that you later find doesn't suit you after all, and that's okay. You can always sell it to another rider. Even bikes that aren't perfect for you can teach you more about what you do want, so it's all good. And here are some excellent new bike choices for beginners. The very first slide on there is going to be the Kawasaki Ninja 400. This is an ideal first bike for a lot of people, particularly if you're looking for that sport bike type category. If you're looking for a fun, zippy, fully fared, small displacement sport bike, it's hard to beat the Ninja 400. This is a 400cc bike. The saddle height is almost 31 inches. The curb weight is 368 pounds. 2020 models start at $52.99. So this is always known as a great beginner level bike. That being said, this is an awesome secondary bike as well. This is also really particularly fun if you want to start getting into track days and training. I know it doesn't sound like a 400cc machine is going to be the ultimate weapon to go do track days on, but this is a really fun option. It's nimble, it's super lightweight, it's got good powers, and it forces you to become a better rider with your riding skills because you're capped off at that 400cc level. So you can't outpower yourself. You can't ride above your means. So this is a really fun track day bike. I've got a lot of friends that have this as a secondary track day bike. And again, at that just over $5,000 price range, this isn't going to break your heart if you end up dropping this on the ground, or if something happens to it. So if you're looking for something to get in the sport bike category, this Kawasaki Ninja, I think, is a great first bike. Now, speaking of that Cub, Honda has released their CT125. This is part of the evolution of the kind of heritage type bikes that they started releasing several years ago with the Monkey, the Cub, and now this Trail 125. This is a 125cc bike. This seat height surprised me at 31.5 inches. This only weighs 259 pounds. MSRP is $38.99. Do you want something that will handle narrow city streets, but also be able to try tackling some of your local trails as well? The new Honda Trail 125 may be just the right bike for those pursuits. It's small, simple, and sturdy. 3 great attributes to instill confidence in even the greenest of riders. It also has a nice rear rack for carrying whatever you need to take along with you, which is extremely handy. While it isn't meant for mild munching, different bikes are good for different jobs, and I completely agree. This would be a great choice depending on what jobs you have in mind. This is a killer in-town commuter scooter. Look at that rad little bike with the rack on it. I love this bike. If anybody from Honda is watching, I would love to have this in the garage. This is the perfect, goes in your van, goes on your bumper on a trail hitch. All right, I'm sorry, a hitch rack. This is just an excellent bike. I love this. It's that same bulletproof engine that they've used in Grom, Monkey, Cub, and now the 125. I think that is absolutely dope and wonderful. It is a little tall at 31.5 inches seat height, which was a little surprising to me. I thought it would be a little bit lower, but as you can see, it's a bit of a step through type style. It's got that dip, so that'll make your life a lot easier if you happen to be on the shorter side like this girl over here is. Next on the list is going to be the Yamaha MT-03. The MT-03 is 321 cc's. The seat height is almost 31 inches at 30.7. It's 375 pounds. Its MSRP is $45.99. The tiniest master of torque is a naked 300 with buckets of attitude to spare. It's small, it's nimble, it's good at fuel economy, all things most commuters like in a bike they're riding to work or school every day. I think this is just a great looking little naked bike. I think that is a load of fun. At $4,500, I think that is excellent. That is the Yamaha MT-03. Next on the list is the Suzuki DRZ 400S. This is a little bit higher. This gets a little spendier at $68.99. This is about 400 cc's, just shy. However, the seat height is 36.8 inches. What? Oh my God almighty. So here's my complaint with these super, super tall entry-level bikes. And I'm going to go full screen on this so I can really give you the full lecture. So this is what kind of drives me crazy. Working in the motorcycling industry, a lot of other companies are really trying to snag that consumer that is new, a consumer that is maybe a woman, because there's a lot of growth in that market, a consumer that is probably a little short, or if it's not a short person thing, don't go crazy in the comments, at least feels really better and safer and more comfortable and more stable when they can really put their feet on the ground. This is not a man-woman thing. This is not a tall, short people thing. This is just a thing in general. Every human being feels better when they can put both feet on the ground while straddling a motorcycle. That's number one. Number two, a lot of these companies think that what they're trying to dig into for years now has been, they think that they're trying to bite away at the Harley-Davidson market. I know, I just showed you a dirt bike and you're like, what the hell does dirt bikes have to do with Harley-Davidson? Well, eventually a lot of motorcyclists end up having more than one bike in the garage. So all the other companies that are not Harley-Davidson, because Harley is the elephant in the room, Harley is the big buyer out here, Harley is the big owner. If you want to have a second bike in the garage, maybe it's going to be a dirt bike. So if that's the case, people that are coming from a cruiser that has like a 27-inch seat height where they fully can like straddle and put their feet planted flat on the ground, getting them over to a 34, 35, 36-inch seat height bike is completely insane. It is completely stupid. I don't understand it. I wish there was more variety in the designing of motorcycles, because clearly there is not, because all these bikes that are coming out now are super tall, which to me, you know, I don't mean to bash on tall people because I happen to be really short, but it's just leaving so much money on the table. It's leaving so many consumers, so many people behind. I work with a company that sells a lot of very tall motorcycles with frequency, and it's the number one thing I hear is like, why are these bikes so tall? Why don't these bikes fit me? And I get it. Not all bikes are meant for all people. I get that too. But it's just so incredibly short-sighted. Yes, there was a great pun in there. It's so incredibly short-sighted to not build bikes with lower seat heights. Now, I know I showed you dirt bike, so you're like, it's got to have clearance, it's got to go over rocks and stuff. I get that too. But even the iconic BMW GS, which is considered one of the greatest on-road, off-road dual sport motorcycles ever made, is incredibly tall and spends 90% of its life on pavement. That's a fact. I'm not making that up. That is real. That is a number. So anyway, that's my gripe about the tall bikes. That being said, that Suzuki is gorgeous, and I wish I could fit on it and ride that bike, but that bike is crazy tall, and I would never ever own that bike. Next on the list is going to be, at the opposite end of the spectrum, a nice and low bike, and that is a Honda Rebel. They bumped up their displacement. They are now at a 500cc for the Honda Rebel. This is going to be just over 27-inch seat height. It is 400 pounds. Cruisers have a reputation for being long, low, and hefty. While you might like the long and low part of that description, heftier bikes can be more challenging to wrangle for beginners. If you're looking for a more lightweight, manageable cruiser option, look no further than the Honda Rebel 500. I think that bike is great. That is not a great photo of it, but they've got lots of aftermarket parts and accessories. I think this is a super fun little bike. I wish that this bike got more love in the newer motorcycling category, newer motorcyclist category. I think that is a great option. Again, that is the Honda Rebel 500. MSRP is $6,599. And one of the last bikes on the list is brand spanking new. They just started releasing images of this bike just this past week. It is the Triumph Trident 660. So strictly off of the specs, this bike has made the cut and made the list. And I have to admit, that bike is dead sexy. Woo! That is a brand new triple from the folks over at Triumph. The MSRP is $7,995. This is a 660cc displacement bike. The saddle height is 31.7 inches, so not too terribly tall, and it weighs 416 pounds. We've recommended the Bonneville T100 on this list previously, but I think that if the Trident 660 existed in previous years, we'd have recommended it sooner. The one thing that gives me a bit of pause and suggesting it as a great beginner bike is that, yes, I would definitely cry if I dropped it. I mean, just look at it. It's gorgeous. That concern aside, it ticks some serious boxes, and it's also the only triple on this list. The last bike for this list for the folks over at Ride Apart is, of course, the Ducati Scrambler. This is a great little bike. I've ripped these bikes around. They are a ton of fun. They start at 9,695. They're 800 cc's, so one of the largest, if not the largest, on this list. Saddle height is 31.4. They also make a 30.6 low seat. Curb weight is 416 pounds. A lot of people love this bike, and for good reason. It hits a nice sweet spot between modern convenience and reliability, coupled with head-turning retro good looks. And that's real talk, and they've got several different versions of this Ducati Scrambler in existence. So there's lots of different ways you can dress this bike up or down. They've got like a flat trackery looking one. They've got a they've got a much taller desert scrambler type one. They've got all sorts of fun, beautiful stuff for this bike. The minute they started selling this bike, it went like gangbusters. And I think even the folks at Ducati would admit that this has definitely turned their business and turned their industry around. I don't want to say that it bailed out Ducati, but I really think it bailed out Ducati. I think it really bailed out Ducati when this bike was released, much like how the Monster bailed out Ducati when it was released. So no shade, I'm not talking smack. Occasionally, motorcycle manufacturers just have to throw that Hail Mary pass, and one iconic bike comes out of it, and it just turns the whole business around for them. So I think that the Scrambler was in that category. So let's get back to the slides, however. So as far as talking about some news and things going on, there's just a handful more races for the folks over at MotoGP. This weekend, they are racing again in Spain. They are in Valencia in Spain. There's only a couple more races to go. And unfortunately, Valentino Rossi popped with positive for COVID, was sick a couple of days. He will not return to racing this weekend. There is discussion of the American Garrett Gerloff joining and racing with them, which is very, very exciting. So that's what's going on over in MotoGP. Here are your standings for right now. Joan Mir is in 1, Quartararo is in 2, Vinales is in 3, Morbidelli is in 4. So some more exciting racing still going on over at MotoGP. You never know what you're going to get over there. You know, Marc Marquez crashes out. He's been out the entire season. Valentino Rossi gets the Rona. He's out for at least this weekend, if not next. They have to wait until he tests negative. He still is testing positive, even though he feels better. So just all sorts of drama going on over at MotoGP still. So make sure you click over, go ahead, download the app so you can stream those races. As far as events go, I am headed to Arizona. I am super, super excited for a weekend in the sun with my friends over at AMA Supermoto at DRT Racing. This is going to be Supermoto. This is going to be hooligan racing. It's a double weekend. It's double trouble all weekend long. We're running 2 races on Saturday, 2 races on Sunday. All sorts of fun stuff going on over there. This is spectator allowed. This is at the Musclemen Racetrack. That is a Honda racetrack outside of Tucson. It is super, super lovely. It's in Tucson. The weather's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be like 80 degrees both days and sunny. I cannot wait. This will be streaming, however, over on Spot Network. So if you cannot make it, if you are overseas, like some of you are, click over to Spot Network and go check it out. It's going to be free. It's right. They're going to be streaming it for free over on Spot, which is awesome. Usually these races cost a little bit of cash. This time they've told me that it's going to be free, and you can come watch your girl in the know holding down that live stream. I will be hosting that race event over on Spot all weekend long. So click on over for my Spot Network Spot TV debut. I would love it if you did. The more eyeballs we get, the more special I look and the more bookings I get. I'm not going to lie. I'm not gonna lie, it's all eyeballs, right? It's all people have to watch this stuff in order to make it keep happening. People have to watch. You gotta click it, you gotta like it, and you gotta share it with all of your friends. So that's where I'm headed this weekend. Again, this is open to spectators, so if you're in the area, come on down and check out some kick-ass racing. I'll be there with a bunch of buddies. I can't wait. Again, this is Supermoto, which is dirt bikes on slicks and a hooligan race as well. So it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a really good time. And my buddies in Texas at Extreme Flat Track Racing are hosting their season finale down in Bishop, Texas. Click over to Extreme Flat Track social media for more details. That's going on this weekend as well over in Texas. But thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I appreciate you while watching. Feel free to peek in and say, hey, Fred from Indiana, thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys. So what do you guys think about that? An awful lot of information coming your way, I know. Thanks for hanging tough all the way through the end and peeking in and saying, hey. Feel free to share this video with all of your friends and all of your pages. The more eyeballs we get, the more I get to keep doing what I do out here, which is bring you kick-ass motorcycling news, events, and coverage. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm going to be traveling. You know, I'm going to open up the camera though and bring you some little quick behind the scenes clips while I'm out in Tucson. So make sure you hit notifications on here on the Facebooks and make sure you click over to Spot and come watch our live stream. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Give me a follow over on the Instagrams. It all goes down in the stories at Jacqui Van Ham and at the Jacqui of all trades. Thank you to my show partner, Vroom. Vroom your room. Vroom Retract Vac. TwoStrokeTees.com. Pick up a shirt in order to help support the show. Choppertown Nation, I couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. And my event partner for this past month. I'll be there this weekend live and in person. If you come by, please do come say hey. I always love to see you guys. This is the Hooligan Dub. This is the Hooligan and Supermoto race going on November 7th and 8th at Musselman Honda Circuit in Tucson, Arizona. Come by and come say hey. We'd love to see you. Check out some awesome racing. Have a great week, everybody. I'll see you at the track in beautiful Arizona.